Good evening, everyone. This is Ralph Sevelius, founder and senior wealth advisor here at Boardwalk Wealth Solutions, and I'll also be your gracious host and presenter for this evening. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to give everyone just a few minutes to make sure that everyone who has signed up for this evening's webinar has the ability to join us, given that folks are making their way back home from work and getting settled in, and we also have folks that have signed up from different time zones. So we're going to give everybody a few minutes to join us. In the meantime, I will say that this is going to be a little bit more of an interactive webinar this evening. So while I give everyone a few minutes, if everyone can please grab some sort of writing utensil and a piece of paper, or you can use, the notes feature on your cell phone if you'd like, just somewhere to write a few things down as we go along here. That'll get you prepared for the webinar this evening. So I'm going to give folks just a few more minutes to join us, and then we'll get started. We should only be here for about 20 to 30 minutes. It's not going to be necessarily a lengthy webinar this evening, but to me, this is actually the most important element of the Prosperity Pathfinder process. So it'll be a good one. And like I said, grab a piece of paper and a pen, and I'll be back with you in just a couple minutes while we let other people join. Also, while we give folks a couple more minutes to join us, I wanted to remind everyone that this webinar is being recorded, as was the prior webinars. And the original webinar on the Prosperity Pathfinder from a broad view is available for replay on our LinkedIn page as a pinned post, as well as our Facebook Boardwalk Wealth Solutions page. So if you don't follow either of those, you can go ahead and follow us on either format, and you can view the original Prosperity Pathfinder overview webinar. Then we also have already done stage one, which is the current manifest. And that one is available for replay as well. However, it's only available to those who had signed up for that webinar originally, and also, of course, available to clients. And it is posted on a portion of our website, boardwalkwealthsolutions.com. So this webinar this evening will also be available for replay. It will be sent out to those of you who have signed up, and we can certainly push it out to other folks as well. If you think someone else might be interested, just give us their contact information, and we'll push that replay out to them as well. So it's about 5 minutes after, so we can go ahead and get things started. Like I said, we'll only be here about 20 or 30 minutes this evening, so there's not a lot of content, but it's very important content as well. So hopefully this generates some discussion with you and your loved ones, and you can really see the impact of this stage of the Prosperity Pathfinder. So once again, I'm Ralph Sevelius. I am founder, senior wealth advisor of Boardwalk Wealth Solutions, and I'm also going to be your host this evening. And we're going to talk about the Prosperity Pathfinder, which is my trademarked process for financial planning for my clients. And there's four stages to that, and we'll get into that as we go along here. So again, short agenda this evening. We're going to intro you to Boardwalk Wealth Solutions. I know many of you on the call this evening are current clients, but we also have some folks that are newer to our practice. So we're going to give a brief introduction to us and what we do and how we help our clients. And then we'll dive right into the Prosperity Pathfinder and specifically talk about stage 2, which is the Destination Clarifier. And then we'll conclude. And I've got a couple of other really fun new announcements to make this evening as well, some unveiling of sorts. So meet the team. Again, there's me, founder, senior wealth advisor, and we have Kimberly Terenzi, who is our practice manager. A little bit of background on me. I have my undergraduate degree from Wake Forest University in economics. Did go to school on an ROTC scholarship and came out of school as an officer in the U.S. Army. Served 4 years, got to see the world as an Army officer, really loved and enjoyed my time in the military. And then when I left the military after my 4 years of service, I achieved my master's in business from University of Florida. I began serving clients as an advisor in 2007 and became a certified financial planner after a few years of study, some rigorous testing. In 2012, still very active as a CFP. And of course, if those of you are not familiar with that designation, you do have to keep up with continuing education on an annual basis. There's a code of ethics. So it really, if you are working with an advisor, a good question to ask them is, are you a CFP? And if they say no, I would ask them why not, because it really is the gold seal standard for the industry. But I've spent the last 18 years serving clients as a financial advisor. I'm very involved in the community. I'm currently the president of the Rotary Club of Tampa Foundation. I'm also a trustee at Academy at the Lakes, where my son just about 2 weeks ago, graduated high school, and he is on his way to Florida State University in the fall. So we're all proud of him. And then I also serve as a board member of the Jackson in Action 83 Foundation, which is a foundation founded by the late Vincent Jackson, former Buccaneer player and a friend of mine, who started the foundation to serve military families in the local Tampa Bay area. So I'm still an active board member there. I'm also a board member of our local North Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. So when I'm not serving on all those boards, I'm spending time with my 2 kids, Luke, who I just told you about, graduated high school, and Tessa, who is just finished up her freshman year in high school and is an avid competitive dancer. So I'm usually just going from place to place, trying to keep up with them and all of their activities. And then Kimberly Terenzi, who's really the heartbeat of our organization here, is our practice manager. She graduated from University of South Florida with a degree in elementary education and served 14 years as a teacher, and now has served with us for a few years now as our practice manager. And if you're a client, you know Kim very well at this point. And if you are not a client, then she really is the face, the daily face of our firm to our clients, helping them with all of their immediate needs, guiding them through our onboarding process, making sure that they have the latest communication and information that they need. And how we serve our clients. So like I said, I've been serving clients for over 18 years now, and I really sort of formulated the Prosperity Pathfinder over those number of years and have solidified it into a very visual process now, so that clients can see where they are in the process at all times, and it becomes not necessarily an easy process, but it becomes a very simple one to understand. And we also provide regular updates, client reviews, events to keep clients informed on what's going on in the market, what might impact their portfolios and their financial plan. Thoroughly transparent communication and fee structure. We've set up our fee structure to be very simple and easy to understand, so that you know exactly what you're paying, which is not the case at a lot of different organizations and with other financial advisors. We're also an independent practice, which means that we do not report to a corporate structure on what kind of managers, products, and services that we necessarily can use. We have a very wide array available to us, and we're not limited by a bureaucracy that basically dictates what our clients can and can't utilize to achieve their goals, which means the analogy that I use is that I have a bunch of arrows in my quiver to help get you from point A to point B and make really unique and customized recommendations for you in your financial plan. And then we also have customized and integrated financial tools that we use that I will show you a few of them. I'll reference a few of them this evening that basically just make it very efficient and automated for us to execute on the Prosperity Pathfinder process. So the Prosperity Pathfinder, this is the visual. Many of you have seen it before. Again, as a client, you can be working in different stages at the same time. It's not necessarily a consecutive or chronological process. We certainly start in one place and we sort of finish in one place to get the initial plan in place. But as far as we work together, there's going to be things that need attention in all areas at any given time. So we can work in any stage at any point in time. But if you look in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the current manifest. And again, our original or the last webinar that we did, we explored the current manifest because we call that stage 1. And that stage answers the question of where are you now? So who do you have with you? What do you have? Essentially, what is your current state? And we develop in that part of the process, we develop a net worth statement, and we just get a very clear picture and as accurate as we can be of where we are right now. And of course, that gets updated as we move forward with your financial plan. And as time goes by, that current manifest is going to change. Your situation is going to change. So that's why the regular reviews are extremely important so that we can keep that current state up to date and we can all know where we are now so we can know how to move forward from there. And then stage 2 is the Destination Clarifier on the upper right-hand side. And we're going to answer the question of where would you like to go? And again, this needs constant updating because that will change as well. But as of right now, where do we want to go? And we're going to make that very clear, very actionable, and very aligned with your values and with what you want to accomplish. We move into the Journey Navigator, which is on the lower right-hand side. From there, answering the question of how do you get there? This is where the value that we add comes into play. This is where I make recommendations and I give you different options of different ways to get where you want to go, and also how feasible it is to get to the goals that you want to achieve. And then we move into the Legacy Multiplier. How do you want to be remembered? And this is where we talk about estate planning. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. I believe that estate planning is probably one of the most important parts of your entire financial plan. A lot of people like to talk about, investment products and things of that nature. Those are important and you have to choose the right ones. However, I've seen more net worth lost with bad estate planning than I have in any other part of the process of financial planning. So the Legacy Multiplier helps us address that, and we have different tools and resources to do that as well. And of course, that's going to be a future webinar in and of itself, so stay tuned. Okay, so for this evening, we're going to specifically talk about the Destination Clarifier. And again, there's not a whole lot to present because in this stage 2, it's really the onus is really on the client, on you, to tell me, to answer these questions. And so in these meetings, when we're talking about the Destination Clarifier, it's really mostly me allowing my client to speak and I'm listening because I really need to understand the details of where they want to go and what the specifics of their goals are. So you see before you right now what we call the R factor question. This is not my original thing. This is why I'm giving, you see the registered trademark sign. I am part of a coaching program. It's an entrepreneurial coaching program called Strategic Coach. And what it does is it brings me, I've been in it for a few years now, and it brings me together with other entrepreneurs from many different industries. And we learn from each other. And it's kind of like a peer group. and we talk about, we challenge each other, we hold each other accountable. We also learn a lot of different concepts from Strategic Coach that help us to work on our businesses and add more value for our clients. So the R Factor question comes from Strategic Coach, and it just had such an impact on me the first time I heard it. And now that I can, and I asked Strategic Coach, hey, can I use can I use this in my presentation? So I'm not stealing it, I'm giving them credit here. But it has had an impact when I've used it with clients as well. So you can see the question, we're talking about several different timeframes. Obviously, different goals will have different timeframes associated with them. So for the sake of this evening, and I asked you earlier to potentially, get out a writing instrument and a piece of paper, or like I said, take out the notes feature on your cell phone or Microsoft Word, you open up a blank document, whatever you need to do to write this down. But I'm going to give you a minute or two after I read through this question, and I want you to write down at least one, maybe even two or three things or answers to this question. We're going to use the time frame of 3 years for the sake of this evening. So if we were meeting here 3 years from today, and you were to look back over those 3 years to today, what has to have happened during that period, both personally and professionally, for you to feel happy about your progress? So I'm going to give you a minute or two, write it down. If you'd like to share it with me, you can certainly email me after this webinar, or you can, shoot me a chat. I believe the chat feature is open on the webinar, but either way, you can share it with us. You don't necessarily have to. For those of you who are clients, I probably already know the answers to this question, but go ahead and take a minute or two and write down 1, 2, maybe 3 things that have to have happened. All right. Well, I don't want to interrupt anybody's vigorous writing here because I know you all are taking really detailed notes here, but hopefully you did think about a few things that have been on your mind. And I'm just curious, to know how detailed you really got with it, because on the next screen here, we're going to talk about that. So what I do with clients is, we talk about determine, define, and record. So we're going to determine what are the goals, and a lot of times that leads to a very long conversation in and of itself, because often even spouses haven't really sat down and talked about not only what you want to achieve, but what the priority is on each of those goals as well. Which one is the most important. So we're going to answer the 5 W's and the H. Who's involved in this goal? What is the goal? Where, when, why, and how. So let's take an example. So let's say you wrote down that, you want to buy, you want a vacation home on the beach. Well, who's involved in that goal? Obviously, it's probably a spouse, maybe your kids. Maybe there's elderly parents that you want to have room for in that house. You know, whoever's involved in the goal, we want to write that down. What is the goal? Okay, in this case, it's a beach house. Where? Okay, well, maybe you don't exactly know which beach you want to live on at this point in time. And that's okay. You know, we do want to make it as detailed and as accurate. So maybe there is a specific location that, you know, you maybe grew up near there or some, and you want to go back there. Or maybe it's just like, well, I just want to be near the beach. It's okay if it's not entirely accurate right now. We still want to get it down. We still want to write it down. It will get more accurate over time as we get closer to that time frame of when we want to accomplish that goal. But we can at least have it written down. And then when, of course, when do you want to accomplish this by? Why? The why is very important too. It's a little more abstract of an answer, um, but sometimes when you explore the why, your priorities on the goals that you wrote down might shift a little bit, and you might say, well, you know what? Actually, this one is a little more important because the why is a little more, you know, it has a little more impact. And then the how, we're not going to really answer the how in the destination clarifier stage. We're going to answer that more so in the journey navigator, and we're going to talk about options on how to achieve this goal. But we can at least get a broad overview of how we think we might get there. And then of course we're going to talk about time frame, the cost, and then just write it down. We just need to write it down. I like to challenge clients because sometimes it's, you know, they'll write down retirement age, retirement income, all the goals that are, you know, clearly usually universal and very common. But I like to push a little bit harder than that and say, is there anything that you really have dreamed about? Like a trip that you've always wanted to take, a place in the world you've always wanted to see. And you know, if we don't write it down, you're going to wonder later, could I have done that? Should I have done that? And you don't want to wait until it's too late. So again, this is a conversation that usually takes, I mean, sometimes this meeting takes over an hour, maybe even 2 hours, because we're really exploring this. From the standpoint of this webinar, it's not going to take that long because it's not necessarily interactive. But where do we write it down? So you can see here, Right Capital web-based planning software. That is the financial planning software that I utilize with my clients. It's one of those financial tools that I referenced earlier. The great thing about Right Capital is that it has an advisor interface and a client interface, 24/7 access to your plan. So if you ever, you know, sitting with your spouse or with your family and you're talking about goals, or you think about a goal that you didn't write down originally, you can actually access your financial plan and put it in there. Obviously, we want to talk about it afterwards. It'll notify me that you changed something or you added something. And then that's, you know, good fodder for our next meeting that we can really discuss that, you know, that item. So the Right Capital web-based planning software is very integral in that, and we can customize the goals too. It's not a cookie cutter financial planning system. We can actually write down the exact nature and the specifics about every single goal that you have, to include the cost, the time frame for the goal, and then it's included as a variable in the entire plan. We can also prioritize the goals in that system so that the system knows that if anything else, you want to make sure that you accomplish goal number one. If you can, then we can go to 2 and 3, but goal number one is absolutely the priority. So we can also prioritize those goals. So as I said, you know, and this is take 2 of this webinar. I know many of you know that we had some technical difficulties with scheduling the last one. I will be the first to admit that I am not a webinar production manager by any means. The good thing for everyone here is that I'm a great financial advisor and I have lots of experience with that, but not in the technical production of a webinar. But I'm learning and I'm figuring my way through it, and I think this one is going pretty well. So. And everybody clearly got the invite out there. But we're going to continue on with this series. So like I said, we went through the current manifest. This webinar is based on the Destination Clarifier. And the next webinar will be the Journey Navigator. And that one will be probably a little more intricate with details on the financial planning system and how we make our recommendations. So getting started, if this sounds like a process that you are could be invested in. Seems a little more concrete than what other folks are offering. Please feel free to call us. We can set up essentially what we call our initial fit phone call, and that is a phone call, very casual, maybe about 30 minutes or so. I can tell you more about how we help our clients. You can tell me a little bit more about your situation and what you're looking for, why you're looking for an advisor to help you, and we can determine if this is a fit. And if it's not, that's okay. I will be the first to admit as well that we're not going to be for everyone, but we can be very impactful and very valuable to folks that see this process as valuable. And so, like I said, we make no decisions on that phone call. I follow up in a few days after the phone call. We can determine if we want to move to the next step. And the next step, of course, would be the initial planning meeting where we're talking about your current manifest and getting a clear picture of where you are now. So coming soon, stay tuned. You guys, well, I did announce it at our coffee social last week, but I will let everyone know on this webinar that we do have a Prosperity Pathfinder book coming. It is in draft stage right now. You can see the cover and the graphics there that will be how it's going to look. And it will be, I can't say exactly when we're going to have it finished because, again, I'm not a publisher and I don't claim to be, but I'm learning a lot about the process. And I also know there's a lot of variables involved. I will say that we are determined to get it out before the end of the year. So look forward to that. I will be sending a copy to everyone who has attended these webinars. So if you are on the webinar, we have you recorded and we will get a copy out to you when we produce the book. If you have any questions, again, I mentioned it earlier, but you can get all the latest updates. You can get invites to our webinars. You can get invites to our in-person events. You can get market updates. I send out educational materials on our social media pages all the time. So please feel free to go ahead and pull your phone out, scan that QR code, and it'll take you right to the page where you can follow us on the Boardwalk Wealth Solutions Facebook page. So that would be my best advice to you if you want to stay up to date with us. And in addition to that, we have many other ways to contact us. You can call us, you can email Kim, or we have our website. Our website has access to all of the different resources that we put out on social media. Plus it has access to our replays of all the webinars that we're doing on the Prosperity Pathfinder. And then my LinkedIn page, you can follow us there. It has the same resources as our Facebook page. But there's many different ways to stay in tune with us. So let's see, we're right at about 30 minutes, just like I thought. And I appreciate everyone being in attendance. Again, if you have friends or family that would be interested in this process that you think that would benefit from starting a relationship with us, please feel free to have them reach out to us. I'll be glad to send them replays of these webinars so they can learn more about the process. And I'll be glad to schedule that initial fit phone call with them at no obligation. So again, thank you for coming this evening. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you being here. Feel free to reach out to us with any additional questions or comments after the webinar, and have a great evening.